The USS Liberty drifted quietly through space near the Kepler 442 system. Captain Jake Morrison sat in his command chair, drinking his morning coffee and watching the stars. The year was 2387, and humanity had been exploring space for over a century. They had found many planets, but never any aliens. Jake sometimes wondered if humans were alone in the universe. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange on sensors," said Lieutenant Lisa Hay from her communication station. Her voice was excited. Lisa always got excited about new discoveries. Jake put down his coffee cup and walked over to her station. "What do you see, Lisa?" "Multiple ships, sir. Really big ones. They just appeared out of nowhere." Lisa's fingers danced across a control panel. "I've never seen anything like these readings before." Chief Engineer Maria Santos looked up from her engineering station. "Captain, those aren't human ships. The energy signatures are completely different from anything we built." Jake felt his heart start beating faster. After all these years of searching, had they finally found other intelligent life? "Put it on the main screen," he ordered. The view screen flickered to life, and everyone on the bridge gasped. Dozens of massive ships hung in space before them. They were beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The alien vessels looked like they were made of crystal and light. They were at least 10 times bigger than the Liberty. "Holy cow," whispered Lisa. "They are real. Aliens are real." Jake stared at the ships in amazement. Then he noticed something that made his stomach drop. The alien ships were moving into attack formation around the Liberty. Red warning lights began flashing on the bridge. "Captain," said Security Chief Tony Rodriguez, "they surrounded us. We're completely outnumbered." Before Jake could respond, the communications panel started beeping. Lisa's eyes went wide. "Sir, they're trying to contact us." "Put them through," Jake said. His voice was steady, but inside he was both terrified and thrilled. This was the moment humanity had been waiting for. The view screen changed to show the inside of one of the alien ships. A tall, elegant creature appeared on screen. It had blue-gray skin and large, dark eyes. It wore what looked like a military uniform covered in strange symbols. "I am Admiral Vextar of the Zephian Imperial Fleet," the alien said. Its voice was cold and commanding. "You have entered Imperial space without permission. Prepare to surrender your vessel immediately." Jake opened his mouth to give a proper diplomatic response, but Lisa beat him to it. She jumped up from her chair with a huge grin on her face. "Oh my God, you can talk. This is so amazing," she shouted, waving at the screen. "Captain, look, real aliens. They're actually here." Admiral Vextar blinked in confusion. In 10,000 years of galactic conquest, no species had ever reacted to the Imperial fleet with pure joy. Most species either begged for mercy or tried to fight. None had ever looked happy to see them. Jake stepped forward, and despite the danger, he found himself grinning just as widely as Lisa. "Admiral Vextar, I'm Captain Jake Morrison of the human vessel Liberty. We're explorers from Earth. We've been hoping to meet other intelligent species for centuries." "You are not afraid?" asked the Admiral, tilting his head. "Afraid? Are you kidding?" Jake laughed. "This is the greatest day in human history. We've been alone in the universe for so long. Finding you is like winning the cosmic lottery." Maria Santos couldn't contain herself any longer. She stood up and pointed at the alien ships on her engineering displays. "Your ships are absolutely beautiful. How do you make them shine like that? The energy efficiency must be incredible." The Admiral stared at them in complete bewilderment. These humans were supposed to be surrendering or running away in terror. Instead, they were asking questions about ship design and acting like they had just met their best friends. "You do not understand," Admiral Vextar said slowly. "We are the Zephian Empire. We have conquered thousands of worlds. We control this entire sector of the galaxy. You should be begging for your lives." Tony Rodriguez was taking notes on his tablet. "That's fascinating. Admiral, how long did it take you to build such a large empire? What's your government structure like? Do you have a constitution?" The Admiral's mouth fell open. Never in his long military career had anyone responded to imperial intimidation tactics by asking about their political system like they were conducting a research interview. Jake couldn't stop smiling. "Admiral, We'd love to learn about your empire and your people. Maybe we could meet in person? I could show you some things about human culture too. Do you like coffee? We make excellent coffee. Admiral Vextar was so confused that he forgot to give the order for orbital bombardment. These humans were either the most sophisticated psychological warriors he had ever encountered, or they were genuinely excited to meet aliens who had just threatened to destroy them. I need to consult with my command staff, the Admiral said finally. Of course. Take your time, Jake replied cheerfully. We'll be right here. This is so exciting. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge of the Liberty in stunned silence. Then Lisa started laughing, and soon everyone was laughing with her. They had just met aliens, and somehow they were all still alive and grinning from ear to ear. Admiral Vextar stood in his command center, staring at the human ship on his main display. His officers waited for orders, but the Admiral remained silent. For the first time in his long military career, he had no idea what to do. "Sir," said his tactical officer, "should we begin the bombardment?" "Not yet," Admiral Vextar replied. "I need to understand what kind of trick these humans are playing." Meanwhile, aboard the Liberty, Lieutenant Commander Pete Johnson was practically bouncing in his chair. As the ship's xenobiologist, he had dreamed of this moment his entire life. He was recording everything, taking detailed notes about the alien ships and their technology. "Captain," Pete said, his voice shaking with excitement, "the biological scans I'm getting are incredible. Their physiology is completely different from ours, but there are some surprising similarities too." Captain Jake Morrison smiled at his crew's enthusiasm. Even though they were surrounded by hostile alien warships, his people couldn't stop being amazed by the discovery. It was exactly what made humans special. The communication channel opened again. Admiral Vextar appeared on screen, looking stern and official. "Humans, you have one more chance to surrender. The Zephyrian Empire shows mercy to those who submit willingly." Before Jake could answer, Chief Engineer Maria Santos jumped up from her station. "Admiral, I have to ask, how do you achieve that beautiful light refraction pattern on your hull plating? The way your ship shimmers is absolutely gorgeous." The Admiral blinked in surprise. Behind him, a Zephyrian officer leaned forward, interested despite himself. The officer had spent years designing those very hull systems. "The crystalline matrix is grown using quantum field manipulation," the officer said automatically, before catching himself. He looked embarrassed for answering. Maria's eyes lit up. "Quantum field manipulation. That's brilliant. We've been trying to solve the energy distribution problem in our own hull design for years. How do you prevent resonance cascade failures?" The Zephyrian engineer couldn't help himself. "We use harmonic dampeners placed at specific intervals calculated by the hull's geometric properties." "That makes perfect sense," Maria exclaimed. "We were trying to solve it with brute force dampening, but your approach is much more elegant." Admiral Vextar watched in amazement as his chief engineer began discussing technical details with the human. This was not how conquest was supposed to go. He tried to regain control of the situation. "Enough," the Admiral said. "You will listen to our demands. The Zephyrian Empire controls over 3,000 star systems. Our fleet has destroyed countless worlds. You should fear us." Security Chief Tony Rodriguez looked up from his tablet where he had been taking notes. 3,000 systems? Wow, that's an impressive administrative achievement. How do you manage communication, delays across such vast distances? What's your government structure like?" The Admiral's mouth opened and closed without sound. What? "Well," Tony continued, "governing 3,000 star systems must require an incredibly complex bureaucracy. Do you use a federal system or more centralized control? How do you handle local laws versus imperial law?" Jake Morrison stepped forward, still wearing his friendly smile. "Admiral, Tony here used to work in government before joining our crew. He's genuinely curious about how large-scale administration works. We've never had to govern more than one planet, so this is fascinating for us." Admiral Vextar felt completely lost. You want to know about our government?" "Absolutely." Jake replied, "We're explorers and scientists. Learning about other civilizations is what we live for. How did your empire begin? What's your history like? The Admiral found himself actually thinking about the question. Well, 10,000 years ago, the first Emperor united the Zephyrian homeworlds. He stopped himself. What was he doing? He was supposed to be accepting their surrender, not giving history lessons. Dr. Amy Foster, the ship's anthropologist, had been listening intently. 10,000 years? Your species must have incredible cultural continuity. How do you preserve traditions across such long time periods? We maintain the sacred archives on our capital world. Another Zephyrian officer answered before he could stop himself. They contain the complete cultural history of our people. Amy's face glowed with excitement. A complete cultural history spanning 10 millennia? That's the most amazing anthropological resource I've ever heard of. Admiral Vextar looked around his bridge. His officers were answering questions instead of preparing for battle. The humans had somehow turned a military conquest into an academic discussion. He had never seen anything like it. This is not how this works, the Admiral said weakly. Jake Morrison's grin got even wider. Admiral, we know this might be unusual for you, but we're just genuinely excited to meet you. We've been alone in the universe for so long. Finding other intelligent life is like a dream come true. Navigator Danny Clark waved from his station. Hey, Admiral, do you guys play any games? We've got cards, chess, poker. Maybe after we finish talking, some of your crew would like to learn. The Admiral stared at the screen in complete bewilderment. These humans had just invited his warriors to play games. He began to wonder if his entire understanding of the universe was wrong. 3 hours had passed since first contact, and Admiral Vextar was getting more confused by the minute. The humans had not surrendered, but they also had not tried to run away or fight. Instead, they kept asking questions and making friendly conversation. Dr. Amy Foster stood on the bridge of the Liberty, practically vibrating with excitement. As a ship's anthropologist, she had spent her entire career studying human cultures. Now she had the chance to study an entirely different species. Captain Morrison, Amy said, I need to ask the Admiral something important. Jake nodded. Go ahead, Amy. Amy stepped closer to the view screen where Admiral Vextar was still trying to figure out what to do with these strange humans. Admiral, would it be possible for me to visit your ship? I'm an anthropologist, and I would love to learn about your culture firsthand. The Admiral's officers exchanged worried glances. No conquered species had ever asked to visit their ships before. Usually, species tried to stay as far away from the Imperial fleet as possible. You want to come aboard our vessel? Admiral Vextar asked slowly. Oh yes, please. Amy replied, her eyes shining with enthusiasm. I have so many questions about your society, your customs, your history. This would be the most incredible research opportunity of my lifetime. The Admiral looked at his security chief, who shrugged. They had protocols for boarding enemy ships, but no protocols for enemy ships wanting to board them willingly. Very well, the Admiral said finally. You may transport over, but you will be escorted by guards at all times. Amy clapped her hands together. Thank you so much. This is amazing. 20 minutes later, Amy materialized on the Zephyrian flagship. 2 tall alien guards stood beside her, looking uncertain about what they were supposed to do. Amy looked around the crystalline corridors with pure wonder. This is absolutely beautiful, she breathed. The architecture is so elegant. Is this design traditional to your culture, or is it more modern? One of the guards, despite his training, found himself answering. The crystal formations represent the sacred geometry of our homeworld. Each pattern has meaning. Amy pulled out a small recording device. Would you mind if I documented this? I promise I'm only interested in the cultural aspects. Meanwhile, back on the Liberty, Navigation Officer Danny Clark had convinced several Zephyrian officers to join a video call. He was trying to teach them how to play poker using images on the screen. Okay, so you want to get the highest combination of cards, Danny explained. A pair is good, but 2 pairs is better. The alien officers were fascinated by the concept of bluffing. In their culture, deception was used only in warfare, not in games. The idea of lying for fun was completely foreign to them. Chef Carlos Rivera had appeared on the communication channel, carrying a tray of food. Hey, do you guys eat? I made some sandwiches and thought your people might want to try human food. The Zephyrians stared at the colorful food items. You wish to share your sustenance with us? One of them asked. Of course, Carlos replied. Food is meant to be shared. That's how we show friendship on Earth. Admiral Vextar watched all of this happening and felt like his brain was melting. His crew was learning card games and being offered food by the species they were supposed to be conquering. On his ship, Dr. Amy Foster was having the time of her life. She had been given a tour of the vessel and was now sitting with a group of Zephyrian officers, asking them about their families and traditions. So you keep detailed family records going back thousands of years? Amy asked, making notes. Yes, replied Commander ZYXO. Family history is very important to us. We believe that understanding our ancestors helps us make better decisions. Amy nodded enthusiastically. That's similar to many human cultures. We also value family history, though we don't keep records as detailed as yours. The real breakthrough came when Medical Officer Dr. Katie Walsh joined the conversation from the Liberty. She had been analyzing the biological scans of the Zephyrians and was eager to compare notes. Dr. Foster, are you able to ask them about their medical practices? Katie asked through the communication link. Amy turned to her new alien friends. Dr. Walsh is our medical officer. She's curious about Zephyrian medicine. Commander ZYXO looked interested. We would be happy to share medical knowledge. Healing is universal. Dr. Walsh appeared on a portable screen that Amy carried. When she saw the Zephyrians up close, her face lit up with scientific curiosity rather than fear. Your physiology is fascinating, Katie said. I can see some similarities to human biology, but also some amazing differences. How do you handle diseases that affect your crystalline bone structure? The Zephyr medical officer, who had been listening, stepped forward. We use harmonic therapy to realign the crystal matrix. Would you like to see our medical bay? Would I ever? Katie exclaimed. Admiral Vextar finally understood what was happening. These humans were not warriors or diplomats or spies. They were exactly what they appeared to be, curious, friendly people who were genuinely excited to learn about other forms of life. The problem was, his crew was getting just as excited to share their knowledge and culture with the humans. This was not a conquest anymore. It was becoming a cultural exchange, and Admiral Vextar had no idea how to stop it. News traveled fast through the Zephyrian Empire. Within hours of the first contact with humans, reports reached the highest levels of government. Emperor ZYXon sat on his crystal throne, reading the strangest military report he had ever seen. Admiral Vextar reports that the humans have refused to surrender, his advisor said nervously, but they also have not attacked or tried to escape. The Emperor frowned. Then what are they doing? According to the report, sir, they are having cultural exchanges and teaching our officers card games. Emperor ZYXon stared at his advisor. In 10,000 years of ruling the galaxy, he had never heard anything so ridiculous. Card games. Yes, sir. They are also sharing food recipes and discussing medical practices. The Emperor stood up from his throne. This was impossible. Every species in the galaxy either fought the Empire or surrendered to it. None had ever tried to become friends with their conquerors. Send Inquisitor NYXRA to investigate, the Emperor ordered. These humans must be using some kind of advanced psychological warfare. Meanwhile, aboard the Liberty, the cultural exchange was getting more interesting by the hour. Tactical Officer Steve Murphy had somehow convinced a group of Zephyrian warriors to have an arm wrestling contest. The aliens were confused by the concept of friendly competition, but they were also enjoying it. Come on, you can do better than that. Steve laughed as he wrestled with a Zephyrian soldier twice his size. Put some muscle into it. The alien warrior was trying hard not to smile. In his culture, physical contests were only for serious combat training. The idea of struggling against someone just for fun was completely new to him. Captain Jake Morrison watched the scene with amusement. His crew had turned a potential war zone into something that looked more like a friendly sports competition. Dr. Amy Foster was still on the Zephyrian ship, now giving a presentation about human art and music to a room full of fascinated aliens. Science Officer Ben Cooper had made an even more remarkable discovery. He had been comparing human and Zephyrian mathematics, and found that humans had developed some unique solutions to problems the Empire had been struggling with for centuries. "Captain," Ben said excitedly, "their faster-than-light communication system has a delay problem they've never been able to solve. But I think our quantum entanglement research might help them." Jake raised an eyebrow. "You want to share our technology with them?" "Why not?" Ben replied. "Science should be shared. Besides, they've been showing us their engineering techniques all day." On the Zephyrian flagship, Engineer Martinez was working alongside alien technicians, helping them improve their power distribution systems. The Zephyrians were amazed that these primitive humans had ideas that actually made their advanced technology work better. "Your species thinks very differently than ours," Commander ZYXL told Martinez. "We focus on perfection and control. You focus on adaptation and creativity." Martinez grinned. "Different doesn't mean better or worse. It just means we can learn from each other." The real shock came when the humans started asking about other species in the galaxy. Communications Officer Lisa Hayes had been chatting with Zephyrian officers about the Empire's history, so there are thousands of different alien species out there. Lisa asked, her eyes wide with wonder. "Yes," replied the officer. "The Empire rules over many different worlds and peoples." "That's incredible," Lisa exclaimed. "We would love to meet them all. Are they friendly? What are they like?" The Zephyrian officer looked uncomfortable. "Most species do not welcome contact with the Empire." "Why not?" Lisa asked innocently. The officer didn't know how to explain that most species were terrified of the Empire because it had conquered them by force. How could he tell these excited humans that the Zephyrian Empire was built on fear and domination? Back on the Imperial home world, Inquisitor NYXRA was preparing for her mission. She was the Empire's top expert on psychological warfare and alien deception. If the humans were running some kind of elaborate trick, she would figure it out. "I want a full psychological profile of every human on that ship," she told her assistants. "Find their weaknesses, their fears, their hidden agendas." But when her ship arrived at the contact zone, NYXRA found something she had never seen before. The space around the human vessel looked like a festival. Dozens of Zephyrian shuttles were moving back and forth between ships. Aliens and humans were working together on joint projects. Engineer Martinez was teaching a group of Zephyrian technicians how to improve their faster-than-light communications array. Dr. Katie Walsh and the alien medical officer were comparing notes on different healing techniques. Chef Carlos Rivera were preparing a feast using both human and Zephyrian ingredients. Inquisitor NYXRA watched all of this through her ship sensors and felt completely baffled. This didn't look like psychological warfare. It looked like a friendship. Her tactical officer reported, "The humans are requesting permission to speak with you. They say they're excited to meet another new Zephyrian." The Inquisitor stared at her officer. The humans were excited to meet her? Most species ran away when they learned an Inquisitor was coming. These humans wanted to talk to her like she was a welcome guest. Admiral Vextar appeared on her communication screen, looking tired and confused. "Inquisitor, I have never encountered anything like these humans. They have somehow convinced half my crew to participate in something called movie night." "Movie night?" the Inquisitor asked. "They show us human entertainment, and then we discuss the stories together," the Admiral explained. "My strategic officers are now more interested in human storytelling techniques than military tactics." Inquisitor NYXRA realized that the Empire was facing something it had never encountered before, a species that didn't want to fight or surrender. They just wanted to be friends with everyone they met. Word about the strange humans spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. In the far corners of space, species that had been conquered by the Zephyrian Empire whispered excitedly about the newcomers who had somehow made the mighty Imperial fleet stop fighting to have friendly conversations. On the planet Chortling, a group of blue-skinned Katarians gathered around their secret communication device. They had been enslaved by the Empire for 50 years, but they still dreamed of freedom. "Is it true?" asked Elder Moxran. "Did a new species really make friends with the Zephyrians?" "The reports say they greet war fleets with smiles and offer to share food," replied his daughter Zera. "They treat everyone like potential friends instead of enemies." Similar conversations were happening on hundreds of worlds throughout the Empire. The idea that someone could meet the Imperial fleet without fear was spreading like wildfire. Meanwhile, Captain Jake Morrison was discovering that his ship had become the most popular destination in the galaxy. Every day, more alien vessels arrived to meet the humans. The space around the Liberty looked like a busy spaceport. "Captain," said Communications Officer Lisa Hayes, "we're getting contact requests from 17 different species today. They all want to meet us." Jake smiled as he looked at the view screen showing dozens of different alien ships. "Well, we wanted to explore the galaxy and meet new civilizations. I guess they are coming to us instead." Dr. Amy Foster was having the time of her life. She had moved back and forth between various alien ships, documenting different cultures and customs. Her research notes were already filling entire computer databases. "Captain," Amy said excitedly, "I've just learned about a species called the Mollans who communicate through color changes in their skin. And the Vendaki have a mathematical system based on music. Every species is completely unique." The most surprising development came when aliens started volunteering to help solve problems for other species. Pilot Rebecca Shaw had been teaching various aliens how to dance, but during the lessons, she learned that many species had conflicts with each other. "Why don't you just talk to each other?" Rebecca asked a group of feuding alien diplomats. "Dancing is about working together. Maybe you could try working together on other things too." The aliens looked at her like she had suggested something impossible. In their experience, different species either ignored each other or fought. The idea of cooperation between different civilizations was foreign to most of them. But the humans kept suggesting it. Quartermaster Ian Brooks had organized something he called an intergalactic potluck dinner, where species brought their traditional foods to share with everyone else. At first, many aliens were suspicious, but curiosity eventually won. "This is amazing," said a four-armed Zenthari delegate, tasting human chocolate for the first time. "We have nothing like this on our world." "Try the Kitorian honey cakes," suggested Ian. "They're incredible, and the Zephyrian crystal fruits are like nothing I've ever experienced." Dr. Patricia Bell, the ship psychologist, was fascinated by the different ways alien minds worked. She had started holding group sessions where different species could discuss their thoughts and feelings about the galaxy. "Each species processes emotions differently," Patricia explained to Captain Morrison. "But underneath, we're all dealing with similar fears and hopes. Fear of being alone, hope for a better future, desire for connection with others." The sessions were becoming so popular that Admiral Vextar had to coordinate schedules. Species that had been enemies for centuries were sitting in the same room, sharing their deepest concerns with each other. But the most shocking discovery came when the humans learned about the true nature of the Galactic Empire. Navigator Danny Clark was playing cards with a group of alien officers when one of them mentioned something that made him pause. "Wait," Danny said, "what do you mean the Empire conquered your homeworld?" The alien looked confused. "All of our worlds were conquered. That is how the Empire works. They arrive with their fleet, demand surrender, and take control." Danny's face went pale. "You mean you're not part of the Empire by choice?" "Of course not," the alien replied. "No species joins the Empire willingly. We are all subjects, not citizens." Danny immediately contacted Captain Morrison with this information. Within hours, the entire human crew knew the truth about their new friends. The Zephyrian Empire wasn't a voluntary alliance of species. It was a massive dictatorship built on conquest and fear. The humans were horrified. Science Officer Ben Cooper stopped sharing technology with the Zephyrians. Chef Carlos Rivera refused to cook for Imperial officers. Even cheerful Lisa Hayes became quiet and serious. But then something unexpected happened. The conquered species began reaching out to the humans directly. They had heard about these strange beings who treated everyone with kindness and respect, and they wanted to experience it for themselves. "Humans," said Elder Moxran of the Katarians through a secret transmission, "we have heard that you believe in friendship between different peoples. Is this true?" Captain Morrison answered the call personally. "Yes, we believe that all intelligent beings deserve respect and friendship. We believe in cooperation, not conquest." "Then perhaps," said the elder, "you could help us understand how to build something better than this empire." Jake Morrison looked around his bridge at his crew. They had come out here to explore and make friends. They had never intended to get involved in galactic politics. But looking at the hope in the alien elder's eyes, Jake knew they couldn't turn away. "We'll help however we can," Jake said. "But we're not conquerors. We're just people who believe that friendship is better than fear." Within days, representatives from dozens of conquered species were secretly meeting with the humans. They weren't planning a rebellion. They were planning something much more revolutionary. They were learning how to cooperate with each other. Emperor ZYXon paced back and forth in his crystal palace, reading report after report that made less sense each time. His empire was falling apart, but not in any way he could understand or fight. "Your Majesty," said his chief advisor nervously, "the rebellion on Chortling has ended." The Emperor stopped pacing. "Good. How many casualties?" "None, sir. They are not fighting anymore. Instead, they are building schools and hospitals together." Emperor ZYXon stared at his advisor. "What do you mean, together?" "The Katarians and our occupation forces are working side by side. They are sharing resources and knowledge. Our soldiers say they have never been happier." The Emperor felt a headache coming on. This was not how rebellions were supposed to work. Rebellions involved fighting, destruction, and eventually surrender. They did not involve cooperation and happiness. "What about the Zenthri uprising?" the Emperor asked. "Also ended, sir. They invited our fleet commander to a peace ceremony. He reports that their music is quite beautiful." Emperor ZYXon sat down heavily on his throne. Similar reports were coming from all over the galaxy. Species that had been fighting each other for centuries were suddenly working together. His own military officers were abandoning their posts to join cultural exchange programs. The problem was the humans. Somehow, their strange ideas about friendship and cooperation were spreading through his empire like a virus. But it was a virus that made people happy instead of sick. Admiral Vextar appeared on the communication screen, looking more confused than ever. "Your Majesty, I need guidance. Half my crew has requested permission to stay with the humans permanently." "Why?" the Emperor demanded. "They say working with the humans is more fulfilling than conquest. My chief engineer claims that collaborative research is more exciting than military service." The Emperor rubbed his temples. "What are these humans doing to our people?" "Nothing harmful, sir. They are just being themselves. They treat everyone with respect and kindness. They share their knowledge freely. They find joy in learning about other cultures." Admiral Vextar paused, then continued. "Sir, I must confess something. I have also found their approach to life quite refreshing. When was the last time anyone in the Empire felt genuine happiness?" Emperor ZYXon had no answer for that question. The Empire had been built on duty, order, and control. Happiness was not something they had ever prioritized. On the Liberty, Captain Jake Morrison was dealing with a different kind of problem. His ship was now the unofficial headquarters for what people were calling the Galactic Friendship Movement. Representatives from hundreds of species were requesting meetings, not to surrender or negotiate, but simply to learn how to get along with each other. "Captain," said Dr. Patricia Bell, "I'm getting requests for group therapy sessions from across the galaxy. Species that have been at war for generations want to learn how to resolve their conflicts peacefully." Communications specialist Nicole Brown had somehow convinced several of the Emperor's own advisors to participate in what she called group discussion sessions. These advisors were now questioning whether ruling through fear was really the best approach. "Nicole," Jake said, "what exactly are you telling them?" "Just the truth. Say, that people are happier when they work together instead of fighting. That cooperation creates better results than domination. That friendship feels better than fear." The breakthrough came when a delegation of Zephyrian citizens arrived at the Liberty. These were not military officers or government officials. They were ordinary people from the Empire's home worlds. "Captain Morrison," said their leader, a young Zephyrian named Kewagtai, "we have heard about human concept of democracy and freedom. We would like to learn more." Jake felt a chill. These aliens were asking about concepts that directly challenged their own government. "I'm not sure I should be discussing politics with citizens of the Empire." "Please," KYXR said. "For 10,000 years, our people have lived under imperial rule. We have never known any other way. But your species shows us that there are different possibilities." Dr. Amy Foster stepped forward. "Captain, they are just asking questions. Learning about different forms of government is part of cultural education. Jake nodded slowly. All right, but I want to be clear. We're not trying to overthrow anyone's government. We're just sharing information about how different societies can work. The sessions that followed changed everything. Engineer Martinez explained how human communities made decisions together. Security Chief Tony Rodriguez described the concept of elected leadership. Dr. Patricia Bell talked about the psychological benefits of having a voice in your own government. The Zephyrian citizens listened with growing wonder. They had never imagined that ordinary people could have a say in how they were governed. You mean, asked one citizen, that humans choose their own leaders? Yes, replied Tony. And if we don't like how they are doing, we can choose different ones. And everyone gets to participate, not just the military or the nobles. Everyone, confirmed Martinez. Every adult citizen has an equal voice. Word of these conversations spread rapidly through the Empire's communication networks. Soon, citizens on hundreds of worlds were asking the same questions. Why couldn't they choose their own leaders? Why did they have to live in fear? Why couldn't their society be built on cooperation instead of conquest? Emperor ZYXDon received the most shocking report of all when Inquisitor NYXRA contacted him from the human ship. She had been sent to uncover their deception, but instead had discovered something else entirely. Your Majesty, she said, these humans are not using psychological warfare. They are simply living according to their principles. They believe in the value of every intelligent being. They practice what they preach about friendship and cooperation. And, the Emperor asked, and sir, I believe they are right. I have seen what their way of life can accomplish. People are happier, more productive, more creative when they are free to choose their own path. Emperor ZYXDon stared at the screen in shock. His own Inquisitor, his most loyal agent, was questioning the fundamental principles of the Empire. The Emperor realized that his empire was facing the greatest crisis in its history. The humans had not conquered them with weapons or threats. They had conquered them with something far more powerful, the simple idea that life could be better. Emperor ZYXDon made a decision that surprised everyone in the galaxy. Instead of sending more fleets to stop the humans, he sent a message requesting a personal meeting. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Emperor of the Zephyrian Empire was asking to meet someone as an equal. The meeting was arranged at a new space station that had been built jointly by humans and Zephyrians. The construction itself was remarkable because it showed how well the two species could work together when they tried. Captain Jake Morrison arrived with Counselor Gary Phillips and Diplomat Jennifer Moore. These were not his most senior officers, but they were his best at helping people talk through problems and find solutions together. When the Emperor's ship docked with the station, Jake was surprised by what he saw. Emperor ZYXDon was not the terrifying figure he had expected. Instead, he saw a tired alien who looked like he had been carrying a heavy burden for far too long. Your Majesty, Jake said with his usual friendly smile, thank you for agreeing to meet with us. We're honored to be here. Emperor ZYXDon studied the human captain carefully. He had expected to meet a master strategist or a cunning warrior. Instead, he found a genuinely cheerful person who seemed excited to meet him. Captain Morrison, the Emperor said slowly, I must ask you something. What do you want from my empire? Jake looked confused by the question. Want from your empire? We don't want anything, Your Majesty. We're just happy to meet new friends and learn about different cultures. But surely you have goals, plans for conquest or expansion. Jake shook his head. No, sir. We're explorers, not conquerors. We came out here because we were curious about what else might be in the universe. Finding all of you has been like a dream come true. The Emperor stared at him. You truly mean that, don't you? Of course, Jake replied. Your Majesty, we know that our ideas about friendship and cooperation might seem strange to you, but we've seen what happens when people work together instead of fighting. Everyone is happier and life gets better for everyone. Emperor ZYXDon was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke words that no one expected. Captain Morrison, I am tired. I have ruled this empire for 3,000 years. I have conquered worlds and commanded fleets, but I have never known peace. Gary Phillips stepped forward gently. Your Majesty, would you like to talk about that? Sometimes it helps to share what we're feeling. The Emperor looked at the human counselor with surprise. You offer to listen to my problems. That's what friends do, Gary said simply. They listen to each other. What followed was the most extraordinary conversation in galactic history. Emperor ZYXthon, ruler of 3,000 star systems, sat down with 3 humans and talked about his fears, his loneliness, and his doubts about the empire he had built. I inherited this empire from my father, the Emperor said, and he inherited it from his father. For 10,000 years, we have ruled through strength and fear, but your people show me that there might be another way. Jennifer Moore, the diplomat, spoke carefully. Your Majesty, what if instead of ruling over people, you worked with them? What if the empire became a partnership instead of a dictatorship? You think that is possible? The Emperor asked. We know it is, Jake said. We've seen it happening already. Species that were enemies are now working together. Your own people are happier when they have choices and freedom. The Emperor was quiet for a very long time. Then he made a decision that changed everything. I want to try, he said. I want to transform this empire into something better, but I do not know how. Jake's grin got even wider. That's okay, Your Majesty. We'll figure it out together. That's what friends do. The next few months were the busiest in galactic history. The Galactic Cooperation Accord was written with input from hundreds of species. Instead of conquest and control, the new agreement was based on voluntary cooperation and mutual benefit. Species could choose their own governments. Trade would be free and fair. Conflicts would be resolved through discussion rather than warfare. The massive Imperial fleet was transformed into an exploration and rescue service. Emperor ZYXthon became the first elected president of the Galactic Cooperative. To everyone's surprise, he won the election easily. It turned out that when given the choice, most people preferred experienced leadership that had learned to value cooperation over conquest. Captain Jake Morrison was offered a position as Earth's representative to the new galactic government, but he politely declined. Thank you, he said, but we're explorers. There's still so much galaxy to see and so many new friends to meet. The Liberty was joined by dozens of other human ships, each one carrying crews who shared that same infectious enthusiasm for discovery and friendship. They spread throughout the galaxy, bringing their unique gift of finding joy and connection wherever they went. Jake's final log entry from that historic mission read, We came out here looking for aliens and found family. We came looking for adventure and found home. We came to explore the universe and discovered that the universe was just waiting for someone to start smiling. The transformation of the galaxy was complete, but the real victory was not in changing governments or writing treaties. The real victory was in proving that happiness, friendship, and cooperation was stronger than fear, hatred, and conquest. And throughout the galaxy, on thousands of worlds and millions of ships, people from hundreds of different species continued to wear that same irrepressible grin that had started it all.